Good evening and welcome. It's fun to see everyone here this evening, especially with the weather changing and you're braving the elements and coming out into the reality of fall might actually be here. So thank you for being here. My name is Michelle Russell and I am a holistic health practitioner. I'm in a private practice here in Duluth, and I specialize in integrative healthcare therapies, complementary and integrative healthcare. So this is what I do for my, and I don't even like to call it work, for my purpose right now in my journey and what I share. So I am happy to be here this evening with you and to share some ideas about one of the therapies that we use in my practice, and to share some ideas on how we can use that in our own life and how it can support us with achieving optimum health and well-being. So before we begin and as we go down, let's just back up a little bit and talk about that. What is holistic health and what is optimum health and well-being? What does this mean? We maybe are looking for things to help us if we have health issues going on, but how do we achieve and sustain optimum health? First of all, holistic health really is looking at our whole well-being. We are so much more than a physical body. We have our physical self, but we also have emotional, mental, and spiritual health. And together, when that's all working harmoniously, we have health and well-being. We feel balanced, we feel whole. But when we think about that in today's world, how many of us really have that? When we are in that place of balance, we are feeling joy and peaceful and vitality, and we have well-being and resilience. But really, with everything going on, how often can we really feel in that place of whole and complete health? And yet, this is our birthright to be in this place. So this is what holistic health is, and this is what we work to achieve. And many times when people are perhaps on a path of either wellness to achieve this optimum health or healing, perhaps we have things going on that we would like to address and heal, we seek support in managing that in maybe a different way or more of a holistic approach. The difference with integrative health care and conventional care is that we look at the root cause of what's going on. When we have conventional care, it is treating maybe symptoms that are showing up because we do have imbalances or dysfunction going on in our body, and might be showing up as pain or perhaps sleep disturbances or allergies or digestive issues. These are symptoms of dysfunction or impairment, imbalances in our body. And with the conventional care, we typically look at those symptoms because we want relief, and we give medication or surgery if needed for the symptom, but we're not necessarily looking at the whole picture and the root cause as to why we might have this symptom in the first place. So I just like to address that because that's a big part of what we're doing tonight, and you'll see how it's all connected. Just the little thoughts about what is holistic health and optimum health and what does that mean for us. So our topic this evening, just to clarify so we're all here for the same reason, is EFT tapping for health, for optimum health. And what I would like to do before we actually dive into that topic this evening is to share with you why I chose to pursue training, my education and certification with EFT. You see, what I've noticed, because I've been practicing now for 10, 12 years with energy-based therapy, other therapies, nutrition, a holistic approach. And what I was noticing is over the past few years, even before the pandemic, that there was an increase in stress and anxiety and depression and pain and despair and overwhelm. And I mean like, whew, just a real significant, noticeable increase. And then what I was also noticing, with people struggling with this, were people were seeking support for health and wellness and healing. And so I began to research options that I could integrate into my practice that would enhance my services. So in my research, I found that EFT tapping is a quick, effective way to reduce stress, anxiety, depression, and similar problems. And not only is it quick and effective, but it's something you can do and take home. That was the missing piece. We would come, maybe we would do things, energy-based therapy, we feel better, we feel relaxed, and then we go out the door and life hits them again, and we get triggered again. And then I kept hearing, this was if I had a nickel for every time I heard this, but I feel like a hamster in a wheel, I feel stuck. Or I kept hearing these words, I'm trying. Well, I'm trying to eat healthy. Well, I'm trying to do stress management. But we would be stuck and keep going back. And then this would be adding to the stress and frustration with it all. So this is why I personally, and I did some research because there were 2-3 other things that I was considering to enhance my practice, and EFT really, really jumped out for me, and especially because of the evidence-based. This was huge, and I am really excited because it is being recognized more and more in the medical community with conventional care, and a lot of what I am seeing is the integrative health department at Essentia is aware of this, and we don't have certified, a lot of psychotherapists are starting to implement it, but we don't have certified practitioners. So there was such a need, and I understood why now. And not only for my practice, but for me personally. I was understanding and resonating with my clients this stuck. I have good intentions, I know what to do, but why do I catch myself being stuck, not practicing what I'm teaching? I used to say, walk my talk, but I feel through EFT, that's a little hard on ourselves, judgmental with ourselves. So now I say, practicing what I preach, or not preach, teach. What is blocking me? What are mine? So anyway, as we go along, you will see why this is, I wanted to share with you why I've pursued. And it was pretty intense training, and it's ongoing, very rigorous for the certification process. But wow, has it been profound now since I'm seeing things, people moving along in their healing journey so fast, like in weeks and months, where before, I know for me, years and years and years, and I'm still on that path, and it's just amazing. So very transformational. So let's get started here. So when I am working with the clients, we talk about the 4 pillars of health. So we come in, what's going on, how can we do it? And we all know that really to have optimum health, the 4 pillars are nutrition, a good healthy diet. So that's important for us. You're gonna get a handout. Put that on there. To save you from the writing. Exercise or physical activity. And again, I was noticing that even the 4 pillars could be stressing and pressure on it already, because like nutrition, what does that mean? And there's all these diets and all these fads, and should I be eating this, and how do I do that? No, just healthy, whole foods diet, just a healthy diet. And then exercise, no, we don't need a gym membership, and we don't need to have, hardcore workout and all this equipment and everything. No, physical activity. In fact, it works better when it is something that we enjoy. So as long as we're moving our bodies, because this is what they were designed to do, it doesn't matter if it's gardening or hiking or biking or dancing, whatever is joyful and you enjoy doing. So physical activity, and then sleep is so important, because sleep is where we are having restorative happening. This is where repair and regeneration and detoxification, when we're in a restorative sleep. So getting that sleep is so important. And the fourth pillar is the stress management, or de-stressing. Taking time every day in this fast-paced, complex, crazy world we live in to de-stress and decompress. And that doesn't mean we have to, because we can't manage it. It's out there and we're not going to stop it. It just means, what are we doing for ourselves to quiet ourselves down, to decompress? And again, we're all unique. So what is it that works for you? What do you find that helps you to relax, you to reset, and to reflect and be quiet and still? So these are the 4 pillars, and this is what I share. And here you go. If you just do this, good luck. You will have health, healing, and wellness. And this is what I meant when I started to see. And in fact, it almost became more stressful, because now we're putting that extra, now we got to do this, and I have to eat right, and I can't have this. And we start doing all these things, and instead of de-stressing, we're adding more stress. Why can't we get motivated with these 4 pillars? And why, or is it so hard for us to stay motivated? Like, we can make a commitment, we have good intentions, we're going to do this, we want to feel better. Then why is it so hard to stay motivated? Well, here's the deal. We are energy beings, we're vibrational frequencies. And when we get in these stuck modes, like hamsters, and we try, we end up having energy disruptions, obstacles. We come across these obstacles that challenge us, and think about how many, well, I'll start again Monday. Well, okay, I tried, or we'll go back next time. What obstacle is causing us to have that reaction? That's a disruption. I get a little excited here, so I have to make sure I'm staying on track so this flows. So we're vibrational frequencies, just like the earth vibrates at a frequency. We have an energy field, and we have a vibrational frequency. Everything does. So we'll just wait for them to come in. Welcome. We're just getting started, so we're all good. No worries, coming in.
There must be a way of measuring that if it's true.
There is, thank you, Art. He's been to a number of my classes here. Thank you for reminding me that. Yes, so there is ways of measuring, well, now that we have technology that does that, but just to remind, like sound and light, everything vibrates at a frequency. But our bodies do too, and it has measurable energy. Medical tests now, such as the EKG, EEG, measure it. And there's lines of meridians, like little circuit networks flowing through our body. And that's how they do it. They call them meridians. And these meridians have points. This is what the acupuncturists use, the acupuncture point, that are used because they correlate with physical symptoms. They correlate with organ systems. So we have this frequency flowing through us, and it's meant to be harmonious when our physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual and everything's flowing. But if there's disruption, then that causes physical disruption in our body. In fact, so thanks again, Art. The energy, which is subtle. I think you've done this before. I recognize you from previous classes. That energy is there and it's subtle, but yet it's strong enough that if I take this energy stick and put my hand here, so that energy between my two palms is strong enough that if I close the circuit on this energy stick, I can turn it on. So that's just that subtle energy, that frequency that we're vibrating at. And we'll
There's no battery?
Well, there's a battery, but you have to turn it on. Like it won't light up if I just go like this, but if I close it.
Do I have no energy?
That's how people, let's close the circuit and find out.
Oh. Well, that's fascinating.
It is.
So it's going through.
Uh-huh. And we could do that in the whole room here, and if you dropped, it would disconnect. But that's what I mean about the energy flowing. That energy influences what's going on in our bodies and the disruptions. More on that in a moment here. So a holistic approach then, or a holistic model for health and healing, would be to address the biology and biochemistry, because when there's energy disruptions, that affects our biochemistry. There's a biochem, and a lot of that starts in the gut health. The gut health would be the nutrition and elimination. And external influences, because the microbiome, with the majority of it residing in our gut, outnumbers our cells 10 to 1. That means there's a whole ecosystem that's influenced by external. Isn't that fascinating? And then they send messages via the vagus nerve, and then they send messages on what to do. And when it's external and it's a stressor, of course, that means activate the 911, the stress response. So that's how that all works. And this is how, but we'll experience it as we go along. So the first part then, with a holistic model for health and healing, is to address the biology, the biochemistry. The second part would be to reset the nervous system. Just like we do our computers when they need to be reboot, clear cookies, reset. Well, our nervous system is pretty much the same way. Sorry, did I go over the microphone? Our nervous system is like a computer. In fact, it's all the fascia that's flowing through our tissues. It's our largest sensory organ. It is a sensory, so it's picking up on that and like and then boom, sending the signals which go up and down the vagus nerve. If there's restriction in the fascia, then there's restriction in the vagus nerve, and that causes the disruption. So we then end up noticing it in our biology, a physiological response. So working with the nervous system to get that harmonized, reset, and balance is key in this approach. And finally, releasing negative emotional patterns, trauma, belief systems, which is basically rewiring the brain or the programs that we have programmed over all the years, because those thoughts influences as well. And doing all three of those simultaneously at the same time. So when you're working on your model, holistic approach to your health, what are we doing for our nutrition, our gut health, our healing? Are there infections? Addressing the biochemistry. And then a daily practice that supports toning the nervous system, the vagus nerve. And then working on, which is what the tapping is about today, because it is a tool that helps with rewiring, redirecting those programs that we have installed, and sending them down a positive health path, communication. So any stimulus can trigger a disruption. Sounds, smells, sights, taste, objects, certain environments, events, or just a word or phrase. The subconscious mind reacts according to specific earlier learned rules of behavior. This is what we call patterns. Even when those rules are out of date. It might have been something we programmed when we were a child. In fact, most of them do come from our childhood. And we don't even know, it's in our subconscious. Your emotional reaction is tied to the memory of the event. Emotional freedom techniques, or the tapping, is a powerful, clinically proven self-help method for reducing the emotional impact of memories and incidents that trigger distress. So the programs are installed, and then we have the trigger, and then we have the emotional reaction to that trigger. And most of those are fear-based. So something that comes in because it's coming out of our limbic system, our fight or flight, the amygdala. So it might perceive a smell, fire. That's actually where it originated from. It's the oldest part of our brain. And what do? Run, get out if there's a fire. So that's why these things can trigger, but it can be happening for psychological reasons, which it was not designed to do that. And that's what we're doing to it all the time. So it starts building up where we have all these different programs running. So what is EFT? Emotional freedom techniques, tapping, why we're here this evening. Well, it's otherwise, like I say, known as emotional freedom techniques. It's a combination of ancient Chinese acupressure and modern psychology. You might hear it now today being referred to as energy psychology. It was developed originally by Roger Callahan in the 1980s and modified and expanded upon by Gary Craig. Since then, thousands of psychologists, psychiatrists, doctors, coaches, and individual users have adopted this powerful technique for use on themselves, their clients, family members, and more. This simple technique literally involves tapping on those meridian points that we talked about, acupuncture points, of our body while saying certain statements. EFT has been known to work for years by psychologists, therapists, coaches, and everyday people. In recent years, a major push has been made for more evidence-based research, and the results have been outstanding. Clinical research studies with EFT are proving impressive results in a variety of areas such as relief from chronic pain, emotional problems, addictions, phobias, post-traumatic stress disorder, athletic performance, PTSD, and among other things, yes, amazing results with financial success. So it can be used anywhere, everywhere, and it's pretty amazing, and especially again for how simple it is. And we'll get to experience that this evening. I'm very excited to share. So tapping offers tools for dealing with negative emotions, limiting beliefs that we're talking about, the roots of emotional pain, addictive cravings, dissociation, phobias, depression, and anxiety. So example with rewiring the brain, because that's part of the protocol for a holistic approach. On meridian endpoint, saying certain statements, sending calming signals while distracting. Let me explain what I mean by that. So what's happening is when we're tapping on those points, those meridian points, right away it's doing, the first thing it's doing is sending a calming signal to the amygdala. And then what we do is we have what they call a setup statement that even though, and that's calling up, what are we feeling? Are we feeling afraid? Are we feeling anxious? Are we feeling angry? Calling it up, even though, because it's programmed to protect you, it's a survival thing. But while this tapping is going on, it's sending a calming, like, then you say, I accept myself. I'm okay. I'm choosing to release. So you're kind of sending the calming signal and then the message to the amygdala, back off. You don't need to be in control like this and overpowering. And then the acceptance part is the rewiring. And then you've probably heard of the term neuroplasticity. When you are in that heightened, that's why it's important to feel it. And again, we'll experience this shortly. When you are in that heightened and in that intensity, that's where you're bringing it up. Because you've probably heard the term, the issues are in the tissues. We hold this energy of whatever emotional that we're having in our bodies. As you see, it comes in and influences. Now, energy, emotions are energy in motion. And if we're not diffusing it, or if we're projecting it back, like saying something defensive, or saying it back, or I'm angry, or I'm whatever, now we're moving it that way. Or we don't like to do that. We don't, sometimes being defensive, it's just better not to say anything, when we're quiet. But yet we're still having the emotion, so what do? We stuff it. We put it down and we hold it in our body. And then we walk around and mad at you. But that energy is in our body. And so we have to move it, and that's the whole idea about this. And this is what makes tapping so effective, because the tapping not only calms the amygdala, but then it's sending the message through all of the organ systems that relate or correlate with that point to clear out. You can let this go now. You don't have to hang on to it. It's much more complicated in that, if you really want to know, and there are books and all the research and everything to go, but in a simplified terms, that's really how and what's happening when the tapping is working with that. So I thought that this was so effective because rewiring the brain, and that's what tapping is a tool for rewiring. You've probably heard of EMDR, there's havening, there's other techniques and methods for if you were in a negative pattern or a negative thought before, you can pause, recognize, acknowledge, and then redirect. You want to redirect. I'm safe. We don't have to go here. We don't have to be in fight or flight. I'm safe. And that happens in that neuroplasticity state when we're feeling, when we're aware. We think here, we feel in our body. Feel the emotions and then move them. You don't want to hang on to them. You don't want to throw it back, because then we're just doing a tennis game of back and forth. Well, you did this to me. Well, now, boom, we sent our anger, bitterness, resentment, whatever back there, or fear. You're doing, and there's a lot of that going out, and then it comes right back again, and we receive it back. So fear-based emotions and negative thoughts vibrate at a very low, low, low frequency. So if you've ever heard people say like, oh, they just drain my energy, or how do I get their energy out of my field? Well, what we do is choose not to go there. Acknowledge that, yeah, I'm angry, or I'm upset, or I'm frustrated, or I'm afraid. We acknowledge it, and that diffuses. Is this making a little bit of sense of how this, it's kind of hard to explain, but the energy-based therapy I do too is kind of the same way. But if we understand those basic concepts, that's really what's happening with this. So how does this work? Because really, let's go back to those 4 pillars. And the stress is the one that gets people. And even trying to practice the 4 pillars becomes stressful, and it's a catch-22. So how do we de-stress? Like we said, we can't manage stress. It's going to happen. We can't change it. We can't control what's going on out there. The only thing we can control is ourselves and how we're responding. So tapping is a powerful stress relief technique. And stress has been called the health epidemic of the 21st century by the World Health Organization right now. And you can see that with what's happening. And this is because stress is linked to anxiety, to weight gain, to sleep problems, lack of motivation, chronic pain, stomach issues, and depression. So tapping regulates the nervous system and boosts the immune system by putting the body back in the parasympathetic relaxation response. This allows the immune system, the digestive system, the reproductive system, and the endocrine system to function as it should. Reducing stress can also reduce cortisol levels in the body, and this reduction aids your body's ability to fight inflammation and boost your immune system. So when we're lowering the stress in our, or not lowering the stress, but our response, diffusing our reaction, our negative, going down that, then we're actually lowering the cortisol and even raising health markers, positive health markers. One of the most remarkable studies regarding tapping and stress hormones was a landmark study by Dr. Dawson Church, and he is the founder of the EFT Universe, maybe if you've heard about it, in the certification process that I went through. In 2012, in the prestigious Journal of Nervous and Mental Disease, the study found that EFT tapping lowered cortisol significantly more than traditional talk therapy or resting. In fact, the one study they did, it was 50 minutes, an hour of tapping and having a session and working through the cortisol, and they are able to measure that now too. We can do that so easy with our saliva by 43%. That's huge. So you think if we do this every day and you don't have to do an hour, it's just moments where you can feel that. Or any time that we're distressed, we have the ability. And it's just a tool. But when you incorporate it with other daily practices of de-stressing and harmonizing our nervous system, whether that's the breath work, practicing just taking that pause. We even become more mindful when we do this with the tapping of being able to do some of those other de-stressing methods and techniques. So what are some other things that might work for you? Maybe yoga or Tai Chi or relaxing music or journaling or reading or watching the birds or taking a hike in nature.
Having a pet.
Exactly. A pet? Did you say having a pet? Yes. Yes. Pets do that, don't they? And that's a great example, Art, is because they're so unconditional, aren't they? But humans, we have egos. That's just the way humans are, and that's the way the law of energy is on planet Earth. We have free will and we have egos, so we can either be in fear mode or love mode, but we have free will to do that. And it's hard if we have these patterns. The reasons why pets can be, because they just stay there in the unconditional love, kind, compassion. They just stay there. They don't get mad at you when you are short with them. They don't get mad and hold grudges if we neglect them. No. And so, yeah, pets are Amazing. I'll have to share something about a pet and how tapping helped me with my pet today. Yeah. Are there any questions or thoughts or comments about the concept of EFT tapping, or what we're talking about, or how it can play in to helping us with our health? You're eager but quiet bunch. Very eager and quiet.
I just want to do it.
Well, then let's do it. I think we should. I just want to try it. Okay, we can do that. Yeah. So why don't we go ahead and experience, all of us as a group, how tapping can help lower the feelings of stress, anxiety, overwhelm in our body. Let's experience that as a group, if you would like, and we can do this. Unless you don't have any, and in that case, come on up, because I want to hear all about it. So yes, let's do that. So why don't we just get comfortable in our chairs? Sit back. And gently close your eyes. And then take a nice deep breath, dropping down into your body and breathing. And tune into that breath. Tune into your breath and just notice, is it tight? Is it shallow? Where are you noticing any tension as you try to breathe? Notice your breath, tuning into the breath. And how much stress are you noticing in the body as you're tuning into the breath? Where are you noticing any stress or tension? And the anxiety, any feelings of overwhelm, to-do lists, distressors, media, all this stuff going on in this world, just tuning into your breath. And now give it a number. From 0 to 10, an intensity rating, with 10 being really high stress, anxiety, overwhelm, extreme, and 0, none at all. And just give it that rating number. And now gently open your eyes. And we'll start tapping. So we'll begin with the side of your hand. Either hand, it doesn't matter. And just gently tapping on the side of your hand, what we might call between the pinky and the wrist, the karate chop point. And as you gently tap on the side of your hand, mentally, we're going to do our setup statement. So mentally affirming with me, tuning into that breath, calling up what you felt with your stress, your anxiety. Mentally affirm with me in your mind, repeating after me. Even though I feel so much anxiety, I choose to relax and feel safe now. Even though I'm feeling stressed and anxious, maybe even a little overwhelmed, I feel this tension in my body. I choose to relax and feel safe. Even though there's so much stress and tension in my body, I choose to release this stress and tension. And now we're going to tap through the points. So tapping with me on the top of your head, just using your laser fingers on the top of the head. This stress. And then between the brows right here, release. And then side of the eye, right there, down on the corner on the side, all this tension and stress in my body. Under the eye, right under the pupil, I choose to release. Under the nose, this anxiety and stress. On the chin, release. Here on the collarbone, like you're wearing a skinny tie, right up there on the collarbone. So much tension and stress every day, just coming at me. And then underneath the arms, about 4 inches down from the armpit, release. And then the top of the head, this stress and tension. On the brow, it's safe for me to release this now. Side of the eye, I give my body permission to release this stress and tension now. Under the eye, release. Under the nose, all the stress and tension in my body. On the chin, release. On the collarbone, it is safe for me to release this stress now. Under the arm, and then stop tapping. Rest your hands gently on your lap and just tune back into your breath. Noticing any sensations in the body, tuning into the breath. And checking in on that rating now. Where are we noticing the intensity of any tension or stress that we may be holding in our body? And give that number, see where we're at, tuning in. And any thoughts or comments, anybody want to share what they're noticing? Anything that's coming up for you, the intensity?
I do feel more relaxed.
And how did you notice that? Was it with your breath being more flowing easy? Did your body feel calmer?
Although I did feel tension, especially in this area.
When you were tuning in, this is where it was. How is that for you there now? Is it as tense?
Yeah, it's still there.
Yeah. So what we did was just 3 minutes of, but what you would do is we do another round until we can get that rating. Did your rating go down? You said I feel more relaxed. Do you mind sharing what you went?
So I had a 7,
You were at a 7?
and I would say like 3.
Yeah. So in 3 minutes and 2 rounds, she got it from a 7 to a 3. So what we do with EFT is go back in because your body, the issue's in the tissue. And then we can start, well, do you mind? Or anybody else, any other comments? And we'll go back and we'll get that 3.
No, that's fine.
Okay. Any other comments? Anyone else notice a decrease? Feeling calmer? More relaxed?
My breathing was deeper the second time after the tapping.
Oh,
Just was deeper.
yeah. Because what is the first thing we do when we're tense, right? Our breathing becomes shallow. I have to remind myself, like, breathe. Sometimes I don't even feel like I'm breathing because it gets up here. But when it becomes deeper, that's exactly what's happening. We're moving the energy. So now you're getting down into the belly and doing the belly breaths, which is where the relaxation response comes from.
When you first told us to start breathing deep, I kind of had to work at it, I had to be real conscious of it.
Uh-huh.
But after the tapping, you notice that my breath just came real easily.
Isn't that fascinating?
Yeah.
Because literally we just did 2 rounds, just so you could experience that. And you could do this anytime, anywhere. And you don't have, a lot of times, even myself when I first started, I got hung up on I had to say things a certain way and do things and tap on it. No, sometimes, well, can we get hers down so you can see how that moves? Because I want to do another really deeper one too. So she's at a 3, 7 to a 3, and what is your name? Kathy. So 7 to a 3, but she's feeling tension here. Is this correct? And what kind of tension are you noticing?
It was almost just tender, very tender when I tap on.
So the tension feels kind of tender here, tight.
Yes, I suppose you could say
Like tight and tender, restricted,
that.
really tender.
Very much notice.
Okay. And if this tenderness, this area could talk to you, what would it say? What's it saying when you're tapping it? I'm tender. Like what physical?
Yeah, just, that's the only word
Okay. Okay, that's good because we'll go deeper on that other one where I'm going to. So if you want to tap along, if you want to get it even lower and see, we're going to go ahead and go back to the setup here. So just breathing into that tenderness. If you can focus on that area, Kathy, and just breathing into it, tuning into that tenderness, this tension right here on my higher chest. It's tender. I feel this tension. Tuning into that, to the 3. And then affirming with me, mentally affirming with me your setup, even though there's still some tension, I completely accept myself. Even though part of me still is holding some of this tension and stress, I accept myself. Part of me is still experiencing some tension and stress, this tenderness in my high chest area. And I'm choosing to release the rest of this tension and stress. It is safe for me to release this tension and stress. And I give my body permission to release any other stress or tension it may be holding in the body. And then we'll just do a quick round here. top of the head. I have a handout for this. Release. Eyebrow point. All stress and tension. Side of the eye. I give my body permission under the eye to release any other stress and tension. Under the nose. It is safe for me to release this stress and tension. On the chin. Release. On the collarbone. I give my body permission to release any other stress or tension in the body. Under the arm. Release. And stop tapping. Just feel your hands. Tune into the breath. Dropping down into the body. In that area where it was feeling tender. Maybe a little tense still. And what are you noticing, Kathy? How is it feeling?
So it's less tender.
Less tender.
Kind of tender.
Feels less tense and less tender. So we can keep going, and you would have probably, if we did a couple different rounds, more than the couple rounds in the beginning, might have even got it down where you wouldn't have even noticed, but it was probably where your body was holding on to the stress and tension. Yeah. You're welcome. Any questions?
I have a question. So she was holding her stress in the place that you had us tap.
Mm-hmm.
What if you hold your stress in other places, like your neck or your shoulders or?
Well, the thing with tapping is you don't have to know where we're holding the stuck energy. The body keeps the score. Have you heard that book? Yeah. The body keeps the score. You don't have to know, which is why we tap on all of the points.
Is there a certain number of taps you're supposed to do each time?
Not necessarily. In fact, I'm going to show you a different way that's even more of a shortcut to get in, but it actually gets in deeper. So I will be giving you a handout that not only explains what is tapping and how it works to redirect and rewire the brain, but then how to do EFT on one page, like what we just did today with the points. But if you want to, like, here is the collarbone, so it's good to get on the collarbone. What she may have been experiencing with the tenderness is actually, that is not the tapping spot. This is called the sore spot, right here. Mm-hmm. And this is actually a neurolymphatic release point. So it's the tapping is actually the collarbone, but they call this the sore spot, and we're going to do something with this here in a moment, or I'm going to have you witness doing that, and you can do it yourself, which is tender. That's why it's nicknamed the sore spot. So you may have been feeling some of that as well, but this is a very common area for holding a lot of stress and tension. Because if you think about it, if we're in our head with the thoughts, then all our energy is up here and then not in the body. And so sometimes people will feel tightness or heaviness or, constriction or tender, burning, whatever, because there's this block between all the energy being up here and not that flow that we need to have going. I wanted to share with you something about that. Oh, so when we're in that just to recap how it works, is these programs that we're rewiring and redirecting, it is safe for me because there's some subconscious belief that says it's not safe, whatever the distress is, or because that's the fight or flight, but it's all just psychological. So fear-based beliefs, right? So when we have someone trigger something, I'm trying to maybe give you an example. Somebody says or does something. You know how they say they're pushing my buttons? Well, it's true, they are. And then you get triggered and you have this emotional reaction. But they didn't install the programs. They did not, we did. They're pushing the buttons and whoop, we go into our files and we pull out this belief of whatever they just said or did. Now, if we stay with that energy and we get defensive or afraid, and we go back and like, you did this to me. We go into the victim mode. You said this, you did this to me. Now we're just down there handing that fear energy back and forth. Versus, oh, this is when you want to catch it, when you are triggered. What do you notice in the body? I'm afraid. What am I afraid of? They might judge me. They might not like me. These are just old, whatever it might be. And we don't have to know it. We just want to know what we're feeling. I feel ashamed. I feel afraid. That's what you want to dial into, is tune into the emotion. So then you bring up the emotion. I call it the AAA practice. You don't even have to, well, we won't go there, but so when you're tapping wherever, it's a AAA, it's awareness. What am I noticing? I feel whatever the emotion may be that comes up. I feel shame or jealousy. So we would tell, even though I'm feeling this jealousy, I completely accept myself. So it's awareness, acknowledge. I feel jealous. I feel sad. I feel afraid. Acknowledge it. And the more you can tune into where you might feel it in the body, the better, because now you're really calling it up. And then accept. So AAA, awareness, boom, somebody just pushed or something just pushed. Could be a smell, could be anything. Acknowledge, accept. So you can start doing it and catch it. We don't have to block off 30 minutes a day to sit down and go, okay, I'm going to just, I mean, that's good practice, but again, we have to be real, and this is a very effective way to use tapping anytime. So I'm going to use a personal example of how this has worked for me today. And I wondered how it would be being here with you this evening. And then I'm like, well, Michelle, you're the one that said, put your practice, this is the time to practice. So I had a very challenging, our family at home had another challenging night last night as our beloved pet is on her final days. The reality is we need to accept that and help her. And she had a very hard night again last night. And there's the distress, right? And then on top of it, there's all the other day-to-day stuff. So there wasn't much for sleep last night. And you can go into your mind like, okay, how am I going to do this? I've got the class, I've got my work, we've got a teenager, we've got boom, boom, boom. And then we got all the daily stressors coming in from our world. And I could have gotten caught up in that. But I'm like, no, practice. And I didn't have to go off and go do, but I began, like, I could hear her. And I knew in the middle of the night, so then I'm tapping and breathing. Okay, I'm not gonna lie, I put the pillow over my head so I couldn't hear. That was my trigger. But I'm tapping. Now I don't have to go, but I picked because this is our kidney meridian, it's fear. And I'm fear because I'm gonna lose her. And then I'm really fear of, it's me and my stuff. Am I gonna be able to handle it? Loss, grief. Will I handle the pain? Will I handle the pain? I'm fear. So I just stayed with that one, knowing not the sore spot, but there is something we can do for the sore spot. I'll show you that it helps with quick relaxation. So I'm tapping there and I'm breathing. Another one is on the side of we didn't do this one, but it is on your handout. This is called the panic point. This is 9 gamut. They use this in trauma release, PTSD a lot. So you put that on your body, and I put it right over my heart, right there. Sorry, we're recording. I covered up. And tapping on that, and I just breathe. Even though I'm feeling so sad. Even though I'm afraid I won't be able to handle this pain. Even though this is so hard, I'm okay. It's safe for me to be here right now because the amygdala doesn't know the difference of a tiger coming to get me or me being afraid of handling this pain. And so I just went with it, and I caught myself doing that multiple times per day today. Waiting to give my daughter a ride to school and waiting on a teenager, that gives you a few moments. So I put on the little spa thing on the radio, and I'm doing my deep breathing. We talked about this last week in the stress text, our class. Did the tapping, even though I just tap. Right now in this moment, I'm okay. I know I'm really gonna miss her. It's gonna be so hard for all of us. And I'm just calling it up. And then I noticed my breathing switched. And then by the time I got to being on my way out here to be with you this evening, I noticed like, wow, considering what went on today and all this, because I had to call. That's it. And that was really hard. And I tapped before I made this call. I had to call where they're gonna come in. I had to call and schedule an appointment to have my dog die in the house on Saturday. So I'm doing all this planning of things that we don't normally plan every day. And so waves of overwhelm would come, and then that can't breathe, so I just tap. I'll handle this. And sending that message to my amygdala, it's okay. Even though this is hard, it's okay. I'm safe right now. Is that helpful? So that was my personal experience just today. And not only did it allow me to, was it kind of focused and orderly? Would you have known had I not just confessed my day to you? Okay. But not only that, I had to show up, and one of the things I've really been practicing and that I notice EFT really helps me to do is to be more intentional, more present in the moment, because that's really what's happening when we do this. And so I was able to not only do that, but I had to go to my office and share a couple sessions today as well with clients who are in some serious distress with some serious health issues going on and some serious anxiety. Well, I would not be of service if I showed up and I'm not fully present. I'm thinking about, and it was amazing how it worked. Like I just was right there and just empathetic and compassionate. It allowed me to be my higher consciousness, to be. So what happens when we go into that distress mode is our prefrontal cortex goes offline. When fight or flight comes in and our amygdala perceives a threat, this goes offline, and this is where we have logical reasoning, decision-making, clarity, grounded, tuned in with our body. That's where that takes place. But that goes totally off when we're in that fight or flight mode with our limbic system. So I can only give credit to the breathing and the tapping that I did today that helped me to get through this challenging day. Now, the law of energy is that it won't always stay like this. There are days where struggles and pain and suffering, yes, we have this, but this is a planet of polarity, but we also have joy. So do I have joy? And it helped me to be able to, despite all this, practice gratitude today, to be compassionate today, to be aware, to be gentle with myself today. So every day we will go, maybe it'll be a day that just flows with ease. But then you'll notice if we have patterns that we want to control, like, well, I want every day to be like this. I don't want all this. But that's not the reality, right? And we can't change that, but I could change how I responded. And that is what I chose to do. And I was so thankful for EFT because I didn't have to think about it, and I didn't have to do it in sequence, and I just had to tap. My instructor, she was amazing. She goes, just tap. Your body knows. If you feel like tapping here, this is the governing point. I can tell you some of those points, they might resonate, but you don't have to know them. Just tap. Just tap and call up, acknowledge, and then accept. Or I am safe, or it's okay right now in this moment. It's all we're doing is letting the amygdala know we're rewiring. It's okay. Back off. So this is, top of the head is 100 meeting points meridian, and it releases inner critic, lack of focus, and that gerbil wheel thinking. Oh, right? That's a good one. Eyebrow is the bladder meridian, or the eyebrow, thank you. Releases trauma, hurt, sadness, restlessness, impatience. Side of the eye is the gallbladder meridian. It releases rage and anger, resentment, fear of change. Under the eye is our stomach meridian. Releases fear, anxiety, worry, emptiness, nervousness. Under the nose is our governing meridian. And that releases embarrassment, shame, guilt, grief, fear of ridicule, powerlessness, fear of failure. And I notice sometimes when I'm tapping and you do the positive, because you bring it up, but then you say, I am safe, or your affirmation. When we tap here and I'm working with people who might be having some of that, and I say, I am enough, I've seen people go, and they just shift. I can literally physically see them just shift because we tap on this saying, I am enough.
Is that handout in our packet?
No, that's just something that you can even access with. You could put acupuncture points in, and it will come up with the points and their related meridians and what emotions correlate with that. That's just the reminder for me, because sometimes these things do come up. I'm like, oh, where someone will have an issue, and it's so interesting how it matches. Let's see, the chin is confusion, uncertainty, embarrassment, shame. I am enough on both of these. I deserve. It is safe. Those are good affirmations on those meridians. After you acknowledge and bring up the distress, then you want to do the positive. Collarbone, again, is the kidney and adrenals, and that releases worry, indecision, feeling stuck, and general stress. Ease in moving forward. Once we do that, confidence, clarity. And then under the arm is the spleen meridian, and this releases guilt, obsessing, worry, hopelessness, insecurity, poor self-esteem. And sometimes you might see people tapping down here too. That's under the chest. That's a little more difficult, but to include it, that's old anger, harboring and storing old anger under there.
Under the ribcage?
It's actually right below the breast, right on the bra line there, right under, by the rib cage, yeah, under the chest. So the basic sequence and the basic points are the ones we did today. It'll be on your handout, but you'll sometimes see people doing that, and I like doing that one because, boy, there's a lot of harbored anger out there, including myself. But we don't know, it's subconscious stuff. It can go way back from why we have it. So I'm going to go ahead and share the handouts with you. I had wanted to do, share a deeper one. Like I said, there is shortcut in what I do. I've learned in an advance where you can go here on those sore spots, not your collarbone, but here. This brings it up quicker than here, right? So you breathe into it, you bring it up, and then you acknowledge, even though I have this. This, really quick, right there on those sore spots, but rubbing it. So it's really sore, but feel it, how tender. And doing that circle there, those are neurolymphatic release points. You'll find physical therapists sometimes do this because it will quickly start sending and releasing the relaxation response, the tension in the body, just even rubbing that. You'll see physical therapists do this on different neurolymphatic points because it starts releasing that tension, relaxing the muscles. But in EFT, when we do that, and then we're really breathing into the distress, I'm afraid.
So that's
What if a,
Oh, sorry, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
maybe we're gonna ask the same thing. So that's the setup versus this.
in the deeper advanced. This is what I'm finding, like I was doing this tapping, but sometimes I'll have people where it's like, why not go there quicker?
And then you go into the rest of the tapping, or just?
We do, after you do, so this is how quick we can go, because sometimes you can do tapping and you're like, okay, I have this stress, but then it's connected to beliefs, and you can peel away the onion and find out, oh my gosh, that belief or this reaction is coming from something that happened when I was 5 years old and my dad said or did something, and we're holding on to that and carrying. But it might take multiple tapping where all of a sudden you might have the insight on where that comes from. You don't have to remember, but it most often is 0 to 6. This is a quick way to get to releasing that distress, and I don't know what that's doing to the speaker, and we call it transmuting, because remember the intensity, those fear-based emotions are very intense, whether it's guilt or shame or anger or bitter. I mean, we get it. You can really feel, you can sometimes, if people are in that energy and you say, I'm picking up on their energy, because you are, it is intense. So when we have that, to really feel it, where do you feel it in your body? And then bringing that up and then doing the setup there. Even though I'm really afraid, I won't handle the pain of losing my dog. I'm more worried about my husband. How is he going to handle it? My daughter's never been through anything like this. I'm going to miss her so much, and those intense loss and grief and pain coming up, just breathing into it, even though I accept myself. I'm okay right now in this moment. So you do it, and then I'm okay. You can, whatever it is that feels right for you. I'll handle this. I have options. I have tools. I have resources. I have support. So we're acknowledging and affirming. And then you do, I am choosing to release this belief, whatever that belief is, that I won't be able to handle this pain. All of its roots and origins, and all that it means and does to me. Because really that loss or pain is going back to a trauma or something where there's so much. For me, it was triggering when I had to give up my horse or lost family, or, right? So it was triggering that. So all its roots and origins and all that it means and does to me. And then you just tap quick. Don't say anything, just tap. Because we've really brought it up here, and we're choosing to release, and then I'm just tapping on the points. It's amazing how quick that goes. So I'm just showing you a more advanced where I've been doing this, and it's even, I can't tell you enough. So the studies and the research are out there. They're using this with PTSD, a phobia. I had someone just recently, a month or so ago, that they were going to fly and they had fear of flying. And so we tapped. Well, I just saw them. It was amazing. They can't wait to fly again. That's what they said. I go, really? Wow. And they were visualizing and
I have a fear of heights. A few years ago, I went skydiving.
Art, that's how I overcame my fear, is I did the same thing. I faced the fear. I'm not going to do it again.
Can I ask a question? So you said you rubbed for your setup.
Yeah, it's best to cross over.
Cross and rub? Okay.
Yeah, because then you're hitting right on there and
And then you go into your palm for the I choose to.
release this, whatever it is, this
And
tension,
then-
this
and then
belief.
You didn't, when you were showing us, you didn't.
Because
do the
she
top of
starts
your head.
here,
Okay, so
and
then
there's,
you just go
or
eyebrow,
she or the person who trained me in that
goes all the
advance.
way down.
There, and finish on top of the head with all fingers. That, again, we're shortcutting. We're
Okay.
going deeper and we're shortcutting the other process. Thank you.
Do they, is there any suggestions on whether it's your dominant hand?
No, it doesn't matter what hand.
How about the first time we went through, I was doing it kind of in unison, and then the second time we went through, I was doing it opposite.
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't
Just
matter.
tap on those points. That's all we're doing.
I
It
really
doesn't
liked
need,
the unison, the opposite was just like, oh my.
that is a technique actually in itself.
Really
Well,
stimulating.
that's EMDR does that
Oh,
with the eye movement or the bzz, 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 right? So yes, you can do that as a very effective technique as well. And then doing it on meridian points, now you're really, it's like a reprogramming, especially if it's a program you're wanting to redirect or a belief. Well, this is, well, I shouldn't say because I have done a few things virtually, but in person like this, after the pandemic, because I just was certified not too long before all of a sudden we couldn't meet in person. But here's the deal. Talk about perfect timing, because this is something I do virtually. Now, in fact, I'm on the EFT Universe site for people, and they can call from anywhere and set up and do this with me virtually. So I was feeling kind of bad, like, oh, bummer, I just got this, and we're, oh, I can do this anywhere, anytime now. So we did this stress class virtually with the co-op, and we incorporated a little bit of tapping there. But this is my first in a group of this size in person. And I must say, even though the other is great and what a tool, this was wonderful because you can feel the energy. And I thank you so much for being here. Any last minute questions, thoughts?
I have a question. One of the reasons that I was excited about this class is I have heard about using tapping for especially sleep issues, which I seem to have decided to develop since I retired. Of course, I've got all the time in the world to sleep, so I'm not sleeping very well. I've been up since 2 o'clock this morning. Is there anything in particular that you would recommend, like preparing to shut down and go to sleep? Is there specific areas that would work better?
Yes, this is very, very effective for sleep. And you can actually Google on YouTube, and I think even the EFT website that you'll see on there, they have, you can just follow with them and do the video with them. Sometimes for sleep it's a catch-22 because I suggest to get off screens an hour or so. You know, your sleep hygiene is part of it as well. But just until you get used to it or to follow along with a sleep-specific, the books. So I know that Nick Ortner has a sleeping for sure. He does video script. The Ortner family is the siblings. So Nick, Alex, and their sister Jessica have what they call the Tapping Solution app. which is great because then you can do tapping anytime and use the apps, and they have one, yes, for sleep.
Okay.
And it's very good.
Okay.
Very, very good. So I might suggest that. They do have some that are free, or the whole idea is you purchase their app, but it's very reasonable, and that's a good way. And then the work that I do is more of the science, clinical based, but I love this because they have brought it to the world. You know, we can do this virtually and through, so, and I love it too because anybody, any age, anything, it has been so helpful for children. What really sold me on this was they used this for the children and the families from Sandy Hook with incredible support and benefits with doing that trauma. But children, so Nick's brother Alex wrote the children's book, Gorilla Thumps, Bear Hugs. Another thing is you can do surrogate. So children, we do it on their teddy bears. It is amazing how something so simple can be so profound. And the research, if you're really into like how this can work, Dawson Church, the gentleman behind this, and he used a lot with the work with the vets and PTSD, with the science of how it actually changes your genes and gene expression, and can turn on positive gene expression and turn off dis-ease and any gene expression that way. So that's a great book too. He's known for his mind over matter though, which is really what this is all about, in the rewiring of the brain. So, we made it. You're here, you're less stressed, you have a tool to take with you. I thank you so much for your time, and I hope to see you again.